Hey there, Connor here from Claris. Today we're going to run you through some great new improvements when it comes to templates and some very useful tools that will help you land on your ideal file note output and get some templates set up really quickly. So let's jump straight into it. We have our demo account here, and let's hop on into this meeting that is just being processed. And the first feature that I want to run you through is the ability to refine your file note and your template. So some of you may know that we have the existing refine section, where if we highlight a section of the file note, we can click on that and get Claris to regenerate it essentially with some instructions and feedback. But if you find you're doing that all the time, or there's a part of the file note which you want future file notes to be better, then this is what that feature's for. So having a look at this file note, we can see that the goals and objectives are pretty good, but maybe they'd be better in a table. So let's go to down here and click Refine Note and Template, and we'll describe to Claris what we want to improve. So we'll say goals section should be in a table. Now, the more specific you are here, the better, so that Claris knows exactly what to do. If there's something wrong with your entire file note, if you want it to be more detailed, or you want quotes everywhere, or it's too detailed and you want it to be shorter and more dot pointed, then you can say that. But if there's something about a particular section that you want to change, then make sure you name the heading of that section so that it can target just that one section. So in this case, we've talked about the goals. We also have some starters there, some placeholders, which if you click, we can fill that in for you. But we'll just start with the goals. And then we click Preview Changes. Now what Claris is going to do here is it's going to have a look at your file note, your transcript, the existing template, and the feedback that you gave. And then it's going to go and create a draft version of a new version of the template. So you can see here it's revising all the sections. In this case, it'll probably only change the goals section because that's what we instructed it to do. And so we'll go through, it'll create a draft. It won't actually update your template just yet. So don't be afraid of mucking around with your templates if you've already spent some time to really refine them. So we'll be able to preview what the file note will look like with the new draft template. And it's worth noting that for this to happen, the meeting must be processed. It must have the status of processed, and there must still be a transcript available. So if you've deleted the transcript or your retention settings have deleted it, then you won't be able to do it. And so now we can see that Claris is regenerating the file note with that new draft template that it's created. And we've got a side-by-side comparison of the old file note and the new file note. So before the changes and after the template changes. And so we can scroll and compare them side by side. It's still in the process of generating, but let's go down to the goals section. Everything else looks to be very similar. And here we can see the goals section was in a list. And now Claris has put it into a table. So that's all looking very good. I'll wait for that to finish generating. But do recommend just double checking the rest of the file note to make sure that nothing has changed unexpectedly. But everything looks to be pretty good in this case. Obviously, with the nature of AI, things are going to be a little different each time, not going to be exactly the same. But as long as the the main details and main information and structure is all there for the other sections, we should be good. But then once that's done, once that spinner has finished and these buttons become available, we'll have 4 options available. So if everything looks good and you're happy with the output and you're happy for future file notes to be like this as well, then you can click the Update Template and File Note button. And so that will update the template with the draft version that Claris created. It'll save that. And then it will also update this file note that we're working on with the new table in this case. If the file note at the moment is fine, but you do want future templates or future meetings from that template to have the table in this instance, then we can just update the template by itself. Or we can go back and try again. So if it's not quite right, or maybe we need an extra heading in this table, we can just click that Try Again button and give it some more specific instructions. There's also the option to discard, but if you're just trying it out, you can discard it and then nothing's going to be changed. So you won't override your file note, you won't override your template. You can see it's still redacted all the names and personal information, and then when it's done it'll swap it back. And so we're happy with that. Let's update it. And there we go. Our goals are in a table now. So this is going to be really useful to land on the ideal output for your file note, whether that's refining the base templates that come with Claris or improving your custom templates without even having to touch the template itself, because that's what matters in the end, is how good the file note is. Speaking of custom templates, that is our next feature that we have released. So we have these base templates that come with Claris, but let's say that you have another meeting type in your practice, or you have an existing template that you might want to bring over into Claris. Before you would have had to create the template from scratch, but now we have the option to generate a template. So clicking the New Templates button, in this case let's go with an insurance deep dive. So we'll just name the template similar to the name of the meeting, so it should kind of describe what the meeting is about. And then for the description, this is where we can provide the details to Claris on what the meeting will be about. And so in this case, I've got a description here based on what the meeting is and what we want to see in this particular file note. So you can add as much information here as you want, or you can leave it as brief as you want and Claris will come up with something. But usually the more details, the better. At least just listing out the key headings and key information that you want to see in this file note. If you want to see some sections in a table, some sections dot pointed, if some sections need to be in a particular format, you can add that in here as well. And then finally, there's an optional input here for an existing template. So if you have a Word doc or a PDF or something that you're currently using, you can paste that in here as well, and Claris will use that as a starting point. And it won't carry over the formatting, but that's okay. Just the raw content, just go into Word, copy it, paste it here, and Claris will be smart enough to pick it up. But again, this is optional, so we won't do it this time. And then what Claris will do is analyze your requirements and everything that you talked about in the description, and it'll come up with a template that follows best practices. So with that, it'll create the outline and make sure that all the instructions and the details of that template following best practices in order to get the highest quality output. And so here we go. Here's our insurance deep dive template. And we can see here we have an outline of what has been covered in the template. These are the points that we mentioned, and it's probably put some other ones in there like general action items or meeting details, additional notes, stuff like that. If that all looks good, then probably one other thing that you should do is generate your agenda. Again, this takes 30 seconds. Claris will look at your file note, create an agenda, or at least a really good starting point, and then you can reference this in meetings when you're in the meeting to make sure that you're covering off everything that's going to be required for that file note. So there we go. Again, if you want to change this, you can, but I do recommend checking out our other video on meetings for more of a detailed explanation of that feature. But then here we have the file note outline, required items. You can add some in there or leave it, but we'll save this for now. And then we have our insurance deep dive meeting template. Now, the best approach from here would be to go and create your meeting with this template, add the meeting recording, send it off for processing, and then see how it turns out. And then, just like I ran through with the file note and template improver, probably best to go through that process in order to land on the ideal output, or at least close to it. And just a side note that doing any of those regenerations or those refinements or improvements won't count towards your usage, so you don't need to worry about that. But then let's say that there's just one little thing that you want to tweak or refine, and that's where the advanced editor comes in. So most of the time you won't need to use this, but for those that are confident to jump in here and have a crack, you absolutely can. So you just show this show advanced editor here, and then we can get a real behind the scenes look at what is in the template and the instructions that Claris is using. So with the templates, we can see here there's a bit of a explainer, and so we have three main components that make up a template. The first one being regular text, and so that will just stay fixed all the time. That's great if you want to put in disclaimers or, purpose of the meeting or something like that. That isn't going to change. And then we have placeholders with rounded brackets. And so this is to describe where you want Claris to write something and just a general idea on what you want Claris to write. And then you have the third component, which is guidance. And those are these square brackets. And this is to really refine, instructions on how you want Claris to generate that particular section. So if, for example, you want something to be formatted in bullet points, you can put that in the instructions and the guidance. If you want more detail on one particular section, you can go into there and specify that. Now we have some help articles on this which go into more detail, so I won't go into too much detail right now, but if you head on over to help.claris.ai, or you click this link here, we've got some more in-depth examples on how to use this advanced editor to really refine it. But again, like I mentioned, this isn't needed. You can just use the template improver that I first ran through, and that will refine all this for you. Cool. Now, the last thing that is worth mentioning, if you come into your template here and you don't see this outline and you don't see the advanced editor, probably means that your template was created before all these changes, and so we haven't touched any of that to make sure that we don't change your file note outputs and things remain just as they were. And if you're happy with that and how the file notes are coming out, no need to change anything really. But if you do want to have access to this more advanced editor to go into detail and tweak it, all you need to do is come into a process meeting, click on that refine note and template, go through that process, and if your template isn't using those advanced components, Claris will convert it over to that for you. And that just allows you to preview the new output side by side to make sure that there's going to be no unexpected changes. And then finally, one other thing worth noting is that when you are on these new templates, so to speak, we've got a lot more context that's going into Claris, and Claris has access to a lot more information. So that includes your profession, your name, the client's name. Obviously, all those are still redacted, but make sure that the name that you have set in Claris, in this case, like James and Melissa Patterson, that's going to be referenced in the file note everywhere, rather than it trying to infer it from the redacted information in the transcript, which might not always be correct. So definitely recommend, if you're having issues with that, go through that refine note and template feature, and then you'll get kind of upgraded to these new templates. And then for those that may not be doing just financial advice, maybe you're doing accounting as well, or maybe you're not in Australia, maybe you're in the United Kingdom. We do have a little bit of an Easter egg here. So if you come into your name there and click My Profile, you can see here that we've got the option to add your profession and your location. So those will default to financial advisor in Australia, but if you want to change that, you can. And then these are going to be put in and given to Claris wherever it's generating something. So whenever it's generating a new template or a file note, it will have access to that and make sure that it tailors that to your specific profession and location. So that's a bit of an overview of these new features. Again, if you want some more detailed instructions, do check out our Help Center content. And I also believe that we'll be running a Ask Me Anything session, a bit of a live webinar where you can jump on and ask questions and we'll help to answer those. But yeah, thanks, and any feedback, let us know. Cheers.